As a big Manchester United fan, what did you feel when Sir Alex Ferguson walked through the gates at Ditchit the very first time?
That's what Alec always said, never stand still, you've always got to be looking forward. Back along in the day when I got called to a mastermind in Neptune Clon's big boats, you'd pay probably €400,000 for them, having had 3 or 4 runs. You knew you were buying something with good form. Now you have to pay that after they've had 1 run. I'm not totally convinced about a Gold Cup trip, to be honest with you. You'll find me in October every night, a programme book out, looking at entries non-stop. You're thinking, where are we going to go? And I've always been very keen to run them an elaborate trophy.
Welcome back to the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel. We're here for a very special episode.
Yeah, it's a fantastic episode.
It is.
We've got a podcast going, and I thought and you thought that let's start small. Let's start it at probably the low and let's build ourselves up. So
yeah,
what have we done?
Well, it is the start of the season, so we should start small. So we've only come to none other than champion trainer Paul Nicholls' yard at Ditchit. I'm extremely excited. Some of my favourite horses running in racing, in the whole racing sphere, just in this yard here.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic chance for us to come here. Great of Paul to give up some of his time to see some of the wonderful horses in the yard. Fantastic facilities here, and we can't wait to hear what Paul says.
Absolutely, we're going to hopefully tap into a bit of strategy, young horses, the process of buying, and lots of good stuff in the podcast. So if you do enjoy it, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and do get your comments down below. We hope you enjoy. Welcome along to the Let's Talk Racing YouTube channel for another video, and a big thank you to all the support on our first video back for the new 2022 to 2023 season. It went down pretty well.
Yeah, it went down fantastically. Great to see such engagement at such an early stage of the season. Hopefully everyone looking forward to the jump season as much as we are. We're looking forward to it quite a lot.
Yeah, we are. And there's no better way to kick it off. We thought we'd do it in a big style, and we've got champion trainer Paul Nicholls on for the first big episode. Thank you very much for coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure.
How was the summer for you?
It's been good. You know, we're always doing lots of jobs in the summer. We're buying, selling, improvement. Gallop's facilities, we put a new walker in. You never stop really, and we've had 18 winners to date, so yeah, very happy with the way it's gone. How
far back do you start thinking about targets for big horses and stuff like that?
You never stop thinking about it really. The minute the last race last season's over, or the last day of the season, we keep a few ticking over during the summer, that you just run and win what races you can. You don't really have targets for them, but it's the other horses, that come in, like Clanders about, you're thinking, where are we going to go? And I've always been very keen to run him an elaborate trophy. Okay. So we might do something out of the box a bit this year and run him in that, because the Charlie Hall might come a bit quick and it might be a bit quick ground for him. I'm not ruling that out, but there's no other really alternatives to give him a prep run for the King George, which we didn't do last year. So, I just think, it'd be a good race to run. So that's been in my mind. Then you think, where am I going to run Bravemansgame? Lots of options again with him. You could go back to Newton Abbott if the ground was slow enough, and then Ascot and Kempton, or we go straight to Ascot unless something else pops up. Frodon as well. Yeah. We're always going to go to Down Royal. He got struck into a channel and we couldn't run him again in the Oaksey Chase. So, he came in a little bit early because I wanted him really ready for Down Royal. So you never stop planning, thinking, plotting, whatever you may call it. But the good horses are easy because it's in your mind. There's a programme for them. People sort of give out, there's lots of opportunities for them and there's not enough runs, but there's not that many opportunities. You're limited to where you can run, so you have to be selective and target horses for race. That's why I like doing me a target trainer, as some people say. So you've got, there's a great example, Grenadine. Last year, I wanted to win the Tingle Creek with him, and I thought, we'll go to the Holden Gold Cup, get a run under his belt there, that'll bring him on, and then a month's really hard graft, and then go for the Tingle Creek, which is exactly what he did. And now we're doing the same again this year. He's been back in, he's doing plenty. The idea was run him in the Holden Gold Cup, and then go on to the Tingle Creek again, and then work away. Won't run at Christmas. That obviously didn't work last year, and then go again in the spring. So you're always thinking what you're going to do and try and get the best out of those horses. You'll find me in October every night, a programme book out, looking at entries non-stop, because you have to do that. At the moment, there's not that sort of pressure. There's only a few horses to enter at the moment at the 5-day stage, no early closing races. So it's a bit easier at the moment. saying that, at this time of year, we've got 115 work. We schooled 28 this morning. So we started the babies just going to school, bit of practice, bit of jumping. Can't ever do enough jumping with horses before they run, right through to, some people might think, why are they schooling them in August? They're not going to run till October. It's part of the training program. And we like doing lots and lots of jumping with them. And they don't do anything silly, but, you just make a plan to start. And there's so many things go into it to get those horses ready for October onwards. Then so we might be thinking this week, Clifford and I and assistants and Harry Cogden, we might think, well, that could be ready for Chepstow. That might be a good one to go to Chepstow, that first meeting. The problem we have with that a little bit is it's October the 7th, 8th, 6th, 7th. Early enough. Yeah. Early enough. And you're going to be running on watered ground, and if it doesn't rain, we're all going to be a bit of a problem. So you've got to be selective what you run in those. You wouldn't want to be running a big, heavy top Bravemansgame example in a race. So we've got to be selective. And if you can run horses out, you want them ready to win. You don't want to go there just for a day out. So we start thinking, well, let's press a few buttons with this and get them ready. And someone this morning, example, we were talking about Secret Investor's come back and he's missed a whole last season. He's good in a small field. He's very good fresh. And I said to the lads, why don't we aim him for the Charlie Hall? There's not many other options for him. Let's get on, press a few buttons. He's been in since the 1st of July. That could be a good race, So we're always plotting, thinking. You never stop thinking in this game. Never stop discussing things. We always, what I call, have our board meeting every morning at 6:15 between my main men. And we're always coming up with ideas and thinking and talking and whatever. You never stop.
And with the majority of your winter horses back in now, how quickly can you assess with especially those younger horses how well they've summered and how far along they are?
That's why it's such an exciting time, is seeing those. Some of them stay static, and some you look at them every day and think, oh my God, will that ever win a race? And then first time out, they go and hose in. So you can never be sure at home. You can never be sure at home till you run. You just got to give them a good preparation, get them looking well and get them fit. And
when you have that kind of batch of young horses, you were showing us plenty of unraced 4-year-olds. How exciting is that, I suppose, when you've got, unbroken dreams at this stage, and you've got loads of really, really good, talented horses to potentially go to work with?
Yeah, I mean, it's a thing we've started doing the last few years, is buying 15 or 20 stores, proper type of chasing type. Well, because the horses in France have got more and more expensive, and I wasn't sure there was such value for money. Back along in the day when I bought Coulter and Mastermind and Neptune Clon's big boats, you'd pay probably €400,000 for them, having had 3 or 4 runs. 5 runs, 6 runs in Coulter and big boats, and placed to 1 graded races. You knew you were buying something with good form. Now you have to pay that after they've had 1 run. Or they might be a maiden, and there's not one person to buy them or opposition. No, there's probably 10 people. And then in a year's time, that form might be worthless. That got more and more expensive, and we thought, let's just start buying some nice stores. And back along we ended up with Fabulous and Rillos, and I could go on and on of those sort of horses that have come on forward and did as well, 300 through 5. Well, look at Jelena Bello. He's a great example who started off winning his bumper, ran really well, and then this year, last year, he won a grade 1. That's what you're trying to produce, nice young horses, and I feel it's quite exciting. I think there's 24, 25 unraced 4-year-olds with great pedigrees. We paid probably on average about €100,000 for them. Some were a bit less, some were a little bit more, but that's the sort of and hopefully we bought some nice horses this summer. We bought 16 3-year-olds at the sales during the summer. Great pedigrees again, nice big horses that won't run this year. They've been broken in. They'll have 8 weeks at the field now. Will Biddick has them in on the 1st of October. Pre-trains them all through the winter. We have them for a month in April when we sort of get a bit less busy. They go out and then they'll be in place here next year's 4-year-olds to go bumpers.
If you can't be excited at this time of year,
exactly.
You never will. How involved are you in the buying process? So let's say, I'd imagine you have a team of bloodstock agents that you work closely with?
Well, Tom Malone obviously does, buys most of them, especially in this country. And Geoffrey Hewitt buys most of the ones in France. It's been frustrating with COVID the last couple of years because I haven't been able to go. This summer I was able to go and I can be more selective. So Tom will go, like for example, the Land Rover sale and the Derby sale this year. Tom went over 2 days before, looked at everything, put a list of 20, 25 in front of me.
Would you then have...
Then I would go around and see all those, no, yes, yeah, and then select, and we whittle it down to about 5 or 6 that we really want to buy. So, you need a team around you to do all that because, it's not a huge amount of time to be doing that as well as training horses and doing everything else. So you obviously need help. So Tom that. But I do like to the stores I like, if I can, I'd like to see them as individuals as well as, and it's been a lot easier this year than it was, as I said, because of COVID. I haven't been able to go the last couple of years. We still bought a nice type of horse, and Tom knows the type of big chasing type I like. The French horses, you probably get a chance to see them on videos or Joffrey might say that we need to buy this or that's, you rely on other people and you have a good team around you. The whole thing is about team ditches. The whole thing is about a team, making that team work for you and with you.
I suppose there's been plenty about the increased amount in terms of what you have to pay for an Irish point-to-point winner for a store horse. At what stage, are you going into these sales with limits on what you're looking to spend on certain types of horse, or will it depend on a kind of horse-to-horse basis?
Yeah, I mean they're all different, but we tend to buy the stores on spec and then bring them back and find the owners from the summer. So I know the type of horse we want, and I think Tom and I usually go up to maximum €160,000 or 150 sterling, but sometimes you might go a little bit more if you really want. When you might pick one up, for a lot less money. So you've got an average, and I always say once they're in the yard, they're all worth the same as long as you're buying a nice type of horse. The Irish point-to-point market has got very strong. I mean, the store market was incredibly strong this year, which is so good for jump racing because all those horses are going to stay in training in England or Ireland. It's not like they're going to be going abroad or say in the Middle East or anything. They're going to stay in this country, and the market was strong, which can only be good for racing. And I think the point-to-point guys were buying a better type of horse this year, which that can only reflect well in the fact they've got a better model horse to go point-to-point in, and they're going to feed their way through. So that can only be good. But that market, I bought some half dozen really nice type of point-to-pointers. If we ever had a Denman or Bravemansgame against them, we'd be delighted if we're lucky. But you have to pay for them. They're not cheap, and it's a very strong market.
And just how competitive is that market at the moment? You're competing with the likes of Willie, Gordon,
very competitive. I mean, most of the sales you go to, Gordon nearly buys all the top lots, whether it's stores or form horses. But
is that frustrating?
Oh, no, not really. You just know you've got a budget and you stick to it, if you've got guys who play, I think we paid a couple of 3 or 4 years ago, it's about 350 grand for a store in Flemingstide. So you could have 2 guys who wanted it. So you've got the people who want it, you buy them. As I said, we're buying on spec a lot of the stores. We tend to have a sort of limit, really, because obviously you've got to sell them on and buy them at what you think is a fair price. And we pay plenty for them. I'm not saying we always get by them. We pay plenty for them because the type of horse we like, we're more often than not have to pay plenty for them.
And how much satisfaction do you get from the likes of Clan and Frodon, for example, that keep coming to the well each year and are constantly performing and winning Grade 1s? Yeah, well, that's,
I'm proud of the fact that it worked so well. We've had that longevity. If you think Denman and Courtauld, Seymour Business, were still running Gold Cups, really, when they were older horses. I think Seymour Business ran when he was 13, Denman probably ran when he was 12, having won all, and Courtauld was probably as good as ever that last year when he was 11, going on 12, when he won the 4th Betfair Chase and the 5th King George. He's probably as good as ever then, having won it as a 4-year-old. So if you can keep those horses, their enthusiasm, their longevity, that's something you like. And if we could win another Grade 1 with Clan next year, I'd be like all throwed on it. It would be fantastic.
And you've had to adapt last year. You obviously put the blinkers on Clan when you won at Aintree. Is that stuff that you just constantly have to try to tinker around?
Always got to be thinking, and then we might think, well, let's leave them off, perhaps to go back to something different until perhaps the spring, or save them for your ace day. But if you're going to go in the Labrador Trophy and really fancy winning it, you wouldn't want to be leaving them off, sort of thing. But you can never stop changing the headgear. Just focuses his mind a little bit. There was an earlier time I thought Denver might have been good with some cheap pieces on, because he used to race behind the bridle a little bit, but there was never, he kept on winning, so you didn't. But you can never stop thinking about little ideas like that. It definitely does help him, as you've seen with him. He definitely was just taking things a little bit easy on times last year. And can you tell at home that they're getting, I suppose, a little bit cute and the game? It's like any old footballer who goes straight in. If he could have the easy route out, he would. So you might adapt their programme so you can get them fit without them knowing. I think that last year we had Courtauld. I don't think we ever worked him harder, because we knew we had to get him to the same fitness levels when he was younger. And that applies to quite a lot of older horses. It might take a couple of runs, even if you're training them hard, to get them at their very best. And I remember Newbury, this year, Clan ran in it was a Denman chase, wasn't it? And so he finished third or fourth, and they were all writing him off. But I knew that he'd improved so much from there to Aintree, and you can't have it. There was no point having him at his very, very best at Newbury and then leaving that race behind for Aintree. The idea was to get him going forward, and I knew he'd improved a lot from one to the other, which happened last year, and it just suits some horses like that, You wouldn't want to get them at their peak every time. And I might have made a mistake last year running him in the King George fresh without a run. I think he got a little bit tired over the last 3, and perhaps I should have given him a run. But anyway, you never stop learning. That won't happen this year.
Yeah, it's incredible how those horses that just come year in, year out and win those top races. Focusing on some of the young ones that are in the yard that you showed us, there's a few whispers going around that Matterhorn could be potentially above average.
Until he runs, you won't really know that. He ran very well in a novice hurdle in Otoy. It hasn't probably worked out really, really well. If he'd have gone over hurdles last year, he'd had to run against juveniles on flat horses, God knows what. This year, he can actually run in National Hunt novice hurdles, which I think would be a big plus. He's a big, scopy chasing horse. Had a few little issues last year, but if we can get him right on the track, yeah, he's a nice horse. But you're only going to know his potential once he's run, if you know what I mean.
Are there any youngsters that you're particularly excited about?
Oh, there's loads of them up there, that are going to go over hurdles this season, or over novice chase, like Gelina Bello, Monmoral, to go novice chasing. They're great, horses that did really well. The Stage Star. Yeah. I love the novice chasers. And ultimately there'll be some really nice novice hurdlers on the. But sometimes they come out of the woodwork a little bit. The bumper winners from last year, and a couple of nice juveniles.
Is there any unraced horses that the Let's Talk Racing viewers should maybe keep an eye on?
Well, I just showed you 3 quite nice youngsters, more than 4-year-olds. And I think we've got 24 unraced 4-year-olds to run. But ones you saw today, Isaac Disabo is a 3-plus brother to Clan, obviously.
Next to him as well.
Next to him as well. And if he was walking around the pod, we think it was Clan as well. Yeah. Big, strong, very nearly 17 hand chasing type of horse.
Didn't look like a 4-year-old.
No, we didn't. Pentar Head, who's a presenting half brother to a Grade 1 winner, he's a very nice horse. Hurricane Danny, I showed you him this morning. This evening, he's by no risk at all. From a very good family. He will want a bit of cut in the ground. He goes very nicely. I could go on and on with naming the bumper horses.
It's not a bad place to be in, is it?
Firefly is a very nice horse. Kick Up a Storm is Shantu, very nice horse. Those are horses I'm really looking forward to running. They're the next generations of, as I said, Oakley McFabulouses and Stage Star and Gelina Bella. They've all gone down that route.
And when you're bringing these horses to the track for the first time in bumpers, do you have to temper your enthusiasm before they run?
To be honest with you, you can never be. Homework doesn't tell you too much with a bumper horse. You can look at them and think, wow, it's what they do on the track that counts. We just make sure they're fit when they run, and then you soon pretty well know after one run what sort of level of where you are, But, homework isn't. I was just telling you about a filly last year called Dancing on the Edge, who never actually showed too much at home. She was just ordinary filly at home, did her work, was working like quite weak, went to Worcester and won very, very nicely, made all the running, and Harry couldn't pull her up. And, there's a lot of horses that are like that at home that actually then get on the track and got there, and some that you can, what I call morning glories, fly every day and then don't do quite the same on the track. So you don't really know until they've gone and run. And some horses, some of those 4-year-olds will probably not, they'll improve enormously from 4 to 5 when they go hurdling. They might finish in 3 bumpers, sort of 3rd, 4th, and run really well. Can Do Kid's a great example. Last season in bumpers, he got beat at Taunton actually, or he might have just won at Taunton. He ran okay, ordinary sort of form. Went to Ascot first time, a good novice hurdle and won well. And they do improve. So you just look for that improvement in those young horses and give them time to do that, and not be too hard on them.
And are those horses at home that are, I suppose, a little bit sleepy and don't necessarily show you too much, but then excite you on the track? They must be the ones you really look forward to.
You can go to Chepstow in the autumn, and first time out you run one in, goes and wins, or where else, and you think, wow, that's just what you want. So we they know their job when they go on the track. They'll have done 18 months sort of training and education and schooling and working and all, had a racecourse gallop in the spring when they're 4, so they know what they're doing. It's what happens on the track and how much they're going to progress from there. Look, Nappers Hill, first time we ran 2 years ago, a 4-runner bumper at Chepstow. Who knows what the form was like? Just Harry couldn't pull him up afterwards, and that made me think that's a good horse. And then the next division, a horse called Formosa, was red hot favourite, finished last of 4, and News Throw Away was useless, and he's been useless ever since. So it doesn't take long to work it out.
As a big Manchester United fan, what did you feel when Sir Alex Ferguson walked through the gates at Ditchit the very first time?
Obviously, it was an honour for him to come and have a look around. I think he came down with Jed Mason. He started off having a few shares and from nice horses, and I think he's probably involved in about 8 with Jed and all their pals, and they got some lovely young horses. And it was a proud moment showing him everything we do, and he's a good man to have on side, obviously. Yeah,
what's it been like having him around and going to the races with him?
Oh, it's fantastic, yeah. I mean, the other day we all went to Goodwood. They came down here. Thankfully, Jed and I picked me up, and then we went to Goodwood, had a good fun, came back, showed them all the horses, had a drink with him, and then he went on home. So they it's good to have them on board, and it's good to have fun with them, go out with them. And it's great to chat to him about anything. Obviously he's got such a wealth of knowledge of all sorts of things. I enjoy his company. And
when he was manager of United, even though they were at the top, he was still tinkering with different things and making sure that it was always fresh and to mainly stay at the top. Is that something that you've maybe taken slight inspiration from?
And I spoke to him about it, really. What we do is very similar to him. You've got a squad of players or a squad of horses, and a certain amount of time some are injured, some are on the transfer list, some you're bringing on through, some will talk to you and some won't, and then you've got to get the best out of that squad you've got. And there are a lot of similarities in a lot of ways. And
similar enough, again, to kind of footballing analogy, you can have good seasons, you can have seasons where probably you're a little bit more disappointed with the top grade horses. How do you go and deal with that and try to then improve again? Like, is that a long thing with the sales shift to store horses? With that long?
No, I think because we buy, you buy plenty of everything if you can. And we bought some nice French horses, point-to-pointers, store horses. You want to keep buying all different sorts. You can't be one-dimensional. But no one team can win the Premiership every year. We're not going to win the Championship every year. But it's all about having that fine squad. And if you haven't won it one year, probably because your squad's not good enough. So you've got to do something about it. And you've got to, like I say, some are on the transfer list, move some on. And get new players in, and you can never stand still. That's what Alec always said, never stand still, you've always got to be looking forward.
And you have so many good young horses. You were mentioning while we were at the yard today, the likes of the Simply the Vet, St. Calvados, kind of real horses that actually almost run too well for their own good. Yeah. Would they give you almost more satisfaction if you were to get them winning and winning in those kind of big competitive races?
Of course it is. I mean, I don't think I got the best out of St. Calvados last year. Eventually worked out how to train him, and he came good at the end of the season, and we're still learning about him, and I think we can get more from him. Simply the Bets is a little bit more tricky because he's obviously not going to win a graded race, and he's the top of the handicap, but just run really well in those good races. It's good, but keep bringing for a clan and all that. But like, if I could get Bravemansgame to go up a notch and win a King George or be a top horse, I've got no doubt he is a top horse. And there's more to come from him. And like I say, getting those youngsters coming forward and just strengthening the squad and training lots of winners. That's what it's all about.
Bravemansgame, I think he's probably my favourite horse in training. I've absolutely loved him ever since he was a young horse. And he's just a big, imposing horse. You feel like a real presence in the yard when you're around him. This year's a big year for him.
It is, yeah. For any of those horses that come out of novice company, it is a big year for him. I think he's improved a little bit. He was just struggling with his breathing a little. He always had limits. He just tinkered with his soft palate this summer, which will help him. And I just think, funny enough, he looks massive at the moment. He's as strong as I've ever seen him. And I think he's been one of those horses who just need all that time to mature a little bit. And I think he went a bit light in the spring last year, as he did the year before. And I don't think we saw the best of him in the spring. Although, funny enough, he didn't run at Cheltenham. Actually, he was prepared to be ready for his life at Cheltenham. He went to Cheltenham on the day. Though he didn't run, he almost outran his race. And I think, like last year, he was over the top at Aintree. And I think if I had my way again at Aintree, I'd probably run him in the 2.5 and bowled along in front. But we ran Pick Tour on that race. So sometimes you've got to, you run in a team, you've got to try and make things right. But I think there's more to come from him. I think Kempton will suit him very, very well. It could be good. Allaho turned up in the King George. He'd take an awful lot of beating. But whether Welly would bring him here or stick to his guns over there, who knows? But I think, he's very capable of running at the highest level. And I think Kempton 3 miles suit him well. I'm not totally convinced about a Gold Cup trip, to be honest with you. Okay. 3.25 miles, it's just me. He shows plenty of speed. Even if he really is a Cheltenham horse, he might not be a Cheltenham horse.
What's he got to do to show you that he should go to a Gold Cup?
Well, I think sometimes, Gold Cup horses got up real stamina. Corder won 2 Gold Cups and he didn't stay, really. He was a speed horse. But he had so much class he could get away with it. Denman was a real tough galloper, and Seymour Business. And a lot of horses that win Gold Cups now are real strong stayers. Is Bravemansgame? Who knows? I mean, he's a great jumper who travels well, but it might be that isn't his track. It might be that he wants to be winning King George's and Martel, the Aintree races on a flatter, easier track. Who knows? Time will tell. He's been to Cheltenham twice and got beat twice. Doesn't mean they all got like him. Silver and Uncle Conti, Clan, a 2 example horses didn't perform at Cheltenham. They don't all perform there. And it's just so, I'm not totally convinced yet that he stays 3.25, but I'm there to be proved wrong.
If he was to hypothetically go and win the King George, it's going to be a tough ask to convince everyone to not go to the Gold Cup.
Well, you probably have to. Obviously, if you did win that, then perhaps, I don't know what you do afterwards and see, but I think if you did win the King George, you'd have to. I'm not sure I'd want to run him 3.25 miles around there. If it was a real test of stamina, I think that would probably be, You know, horses like Paul Nicholls, or I think a real strong galloper Stairs will probably beat him around there. But Aintree might be a different kettle of fish. Who knows? But you can't rule nothing in around horses. You're always thinking, and you know, after he's had his first run of the season, we'll know an awful lot more, really.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but my National Hunt juices are well and truly flowing. It's the middle of August and I absolutely can't wait. I'm waiting for that first meeting at Chepstow to happen, the showcase meeting, the Charlie Hall. It can't come soon enough. Thank you so much for coming on to Let's Talk Racing, and best of luck for the season.
Thank you, my pleasure.
And if you did enjoy this video, please hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and we do have some behind the scenes bits on Let's Talk Racing Plus, so do go over and subscribe to that. But thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you soon.